I would never want to intentionally hurt anybody, but ultimately this is my life to lead. I don't have, I don't think I'm going to die tomorrow, but I feel that
In this interview, she's gonna share the painful regrets and secrets to living more fulfilling life. Her insights, backgrounds, and more importantly, experiences will change the way you think about wealth. Without further ado, let's dive into it.
Hello, my name's Mandy and I'm from the UK. I live in England, but I also live in Dubai.
How old are you?
I am 60 years old.
And what does it feel like to be 60 years old?
Quite scary, really. And where have all those years gone? I can't believe. Inside I still feel, 30, 40. But I look in the mirror and I think, well, perhaps, time's moved on. It's a bit scary.
60 is a long journey of your life. Is there anything you wish but you have done differently?
Yes, I think that there are things that I'm happy that I chose, that I took that route, but there are many decisions I made when I look back and think there was a different path I could have taken, maybe an easier path, maybe a more complicated path, but would have got me somewhere different. And I would say that one of my things is when you're young and you're leaving school, the opportunities are huge, and to understand where you want to be and what you want to do is very difficult. So I think that had I had been more fortunate to have someone I could talk to, be mentored or to be aspired by and know them, I would have made different decisions about my next steps.
And what do you think? Do other 60 years old people feeling the way you think about world, or a little difference here?
Yes, I think that most of us would say seize the day. My motto is never say never, because it's too easy to say no and be frightened, but actually there's always time to put things right. If you've made a decision that's wrong, you can get back on track, you can do that. I think that most people would say there have been opportunities missed, and grasp the moment now while you can, and while you're young enough as well. You can easily make those decisions. It gets a little bit harder as you get older, because the more children you have, the more grandchildren you have, the more the more you have more responsibility. But also need to be a little bit selfish in life sometimes. But it doesn't mean to say you have to be mean to people. You just need to sometimes consider yourself. Is it right for you? Sharing emotion and sharing feelings actually is the most human thing that you can start to relate to people more and more. There's time and a place, I would say. And obviously sometimes you can't control those emotions, but let's just assume that it's a general day, and it may not be appropriate right now for me to sort of start telling you about my life and things that have happened, but meeting people and actually them understanding your journey, how you got to be where you are and why maybe you took those decisions, influences their opinion of you a lot, because they may think you come across as life's great, and it may be great, but actually what they didn't know is you've been on a journey that they would never have wanted to go on, because it's been quite hard.
Yeah, sure.
But then an admiration comes into that. But I think that overall, I think everybody's been on a journey, and it's just a different balance of which part of that journey is hard. So if you can share those and how you can be inspirational to people.
Yeah. And what has changed you for the better when you turn 60 years old? When you compare it to your younger self, you understand more, you learn more, you explored more.
Comfortable in the decisions you make. So I would never want to intentionally hurt anybody, but ultimately this is my life to lead. I don't have, I don't think I'm going to die tomorrow, but I feel that, my children have an opportunity to live their life. I wouldn't want to put I wouldn't want to be too dependent on them for them to stop living their life. So therefore I want to live as much of my life now whilst I'm physically able and mentally able to do that. So I think when you get a little bit older, you can see actually there is a limit. I can see my parents used to travel, now they can't travel, so therefore I need to do my travel now, because there's going to be a point where I can't. So, but
And what is the truth about life you wish most young people understood about life?
well, my big thing is, I suppose, in the UK, when during their children are between around about 14, 15, those sort of years, we have what we call work experience, and they go into workplaces for 2 weeks to experience the job that they might want to do. But at that age, most people don't know what job they might want to do, and actually it's very difficult because of legal reasons to get into the offices, and because they have to sign papers, and so they end up spending 2 weeks doing something that they're never going to do. But I actually think we should do disability awareness weeks. And although we have a lot of integrated disabled children in schools, I think going out to where there's deaf children, there's blind children, there's children with cerebral palsy or any other disability that actually you understand, or adults, so the child in school, the high school child, the student can understand the complications and the hardships that those families have to experience every day of their life. And it's not that they're sad necessarily, but there's still hills they have to climb. Crossing the road becomes difficult. So that when those people become employees and employers, so that they're either a boss of their own company or they're working for a company, they can actually, or they're developing something, they can think, I have to be considerate of the people who have got harder things happening in their own personal life, that they have to make sure that, you know, that if they've got a blind person living in them, the house has to be laid out a certain way, and there's a certain pressure on the rest of the family that other families might not have. So when they're in the workplace, they can appreciate that this person seems everything's fine, but actually there's a story behind this person.
Exactly. Comparing to older people, that's old generations, who want to achieve anything a little quicker. And what do you think that's, and also on the way we go up too soon before achieving that, not a young generation, what is your message for them?
Obviously I was young one time and I did want to be grown up and I wanted to be there doing it, and but that's fast tracked, as you say. It's they want it sooner, and I just think the responsibility of being old is great, it's huge. So don't rush that responsibility, enjoy the freedom of being young and that you don't have that responsibility. And if you don't know, if you choose not to step into the world of responsibility, you can just be more relaxed and, you know, allow life just to be around you and learn from that, but don't rush to be, you know, in charge to experience, because the world is there to be experienced, and if you do it right, you will be able to do it in a very safe way.
Wow. Yeah. And what do you think? Does responsibility come from age, or kind of maybe hard times?
Yeah,
maybe it comes with age, something when you're getting older.
I think it comes with experience. I think that, and of course experience you gain with age, but that doesn't mean to say
failing a lot, maybe. Yeah,
so you could be a child who's a carer. You've got a lot of responsibility there. You've got a lot of experience that other children maybe don't have, or, you know, as you said, hardships. But, you know, hardships don't necessarily mean that they're bad. I have to say, from a personal point of view, I had something very severe happen, and my late husband, who's now sadly died, he had an operation when he was in his 40s, and on a brain tumour, and he was fine, but he never recovered. So he was paralysed, he was blind, he was not able to speak or read again, and he lived for 4.5 years at home with us, with our children. But the one thing I'll say from that is it was horrendous, it was awful, and it was very sad, but I felt very privileged to have been brought into the disabled world. I'd never experienced it really, and I went into the extreme part of it, if you like, and I felt very privileged. So I think my children have a sense of responsibility and maturity around those emotions, and so they are not judgmental, they are not, they understand that things can happen and people can go into the bad area, but you can come back again, you can get back on track and things can be good. So,
And what is the best advice you've ever heard or ever received from someone? It helps you a lot.
I think the best advice is really to live your life in the best way possible without hurting anybody. Always be morally good and try and be emotionally good and caring. And I think that if you're morally good and you look out for others and look after yourself, I think that you'll have a nice, a successful life in the fact that you feel comfortable with yourself. It's not all about money. Money helps sometimes, you can't deny that, but there's plenty of people with lots of money who aren't happy. It's about being happy with the decision you've made. So whether that's because you went to see your parents because you felt that that was the right thing to do at that time, even if it was inconvenient, or if it was that you helped a friend out, or you went and got a job and you left your other employment, and you may feel guilty about leaving your other employment, but if you ultimately feel that you made the best decision with the best of intentions, then I think that you can live life with a calmness around you.
Wow. If you could go back in time to have a conversation with your younger self, what advice would you give to her?
I would say concentrate on my studies a bit more rather than having too much fun. I had a lot of fun, and I probably didn't do as much study as I didn't do as much study as I should have done, and it therefore took me a very long time to get, well, I say very long time, my journey was different because I didn't get my education finished till longer, till I was a bit late, not in my late 20s. So, but I wouldn't necessarily change what I did because I had a really good time. However, looking back, I think it might have made my life easier if I'd have just settled down and studied a bit harder.
And according to technology, we are using technology at the wrong way. For example, ChatGPT, we're using it to overcome or complete our exam in the easiest way. And what do you think, just so we are not going to read a book which is real, and just everything is online, and people too busy to type on the phone, they are not living online? What do you think?
It's a problem, I think, that as far as communication is concerned, speaking to people, sitting here talking to you, sitting to people, talking to my colleagues, being in work, remote working is hard, I think, for the younger generation. Generally, the young people like to be sociable, and remote working makes them quite alienated. I also think, how are the young people being mentored if they're not being in an office somewhere, seeing the older generation handle a situation? It could be a simple phone call that's a very friendly phone call. It could also be a phone call that needs calming down, de-escalating. How do they manage these interactions? And young people don't like it's a proven fact that from surveys and what have you, young people don't like picking up the phone and actually physically speaking to each other. They're on to text each other, but you get so much more talking face to face with people, and that connection between people is the best thing. Teams meetings are great, have their place, but actually physically meeting people and experience some of what they're talking about is the most important. And I think that's where we've got to get a balance, is that remote working or using technology is good, but there's a balance of you need the person behind that as well.
And what is the goal that you set when you were young and you are still trying to achieve it?
Well, I had two goals, I think. I wanted to be a good mum. I think I did achieve that. I think my children might tell you that I was a good mum. But I wanted to be successful in my own right. And I had opportunities that I've always been sort of entrepreneurial. So I've started my own businesses, etc. And I had a very successful business when my late husband became ill, so we had to stop that. And then I've remarried, and I have a new business, and my goal is to make that the most successful platform in the world. And that is what I'm currently working on. So
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it.
thank you.
Wow, I don't know.